There is a tension that lives in all of us, the tension between what we want to happen and when we want it to happen. We make plans, set deadlines, and live by calendars, yet often find ourselves frustrated when life refuses to follow our schedule. It's as if we are racing against time, trying to control it, harness it, and shape it to fit our desires. But life teaches us, time and again, that there is a rhythm far greater than our own, something beyond clocks and calendars, a timing that does not always align with our impatience, our hopes, or even our prayers. This timing, often called God's timing, invites us to slow down and trust in a divine orchestration far more intricate than we can imagine. We want answers immediately. But the truth is, sometimes the greatest blessings come in delays. It's painful, frustrating even, to wait for what seems so obvious, so necessary. Yet there is a hidden wisdom in waiting that we often miss. Waiting is not wasted time. It is not empty. It is fertile ground. Seeds planted in waiting seasons often grow into the strongest roots, the tallest trees. When we rush ahead, we risk missing the preparation we need for what is to come. God's timing is never about inconvenience or punishment. It is about perfect preparation. There is a sacredness in this delay that teaches patience, shapes character, and aligns us with a greater purpose. Have you ever looked back on your life and realized that something you once begged for too soon actually arrived too late? That's the mystery of timing. What we desire in a moment may not be what we truly need at that time. Sometimes God's no or not yet is a profound yes to a better plan. Imagine a gardener who waits until the soil is just right, the season is perfect, and the plant is ready to flourish before planting the seed. That gardener is wise, intentional, and loving. In the same way, God watches over our lives, waiting for the perfect moment, when conditions are right, when our hearts are ready, when the timing will produce the best fruit. Trusting that timing is an act of faith. We often forget that time itself is a created thing. It is not infinite, and it is not chaotic. It is ordered, purposeful, and in its deepest sense, under divine control. Our impatience arises from living in a limited view, focused on the immediate, the urgent, the visible. But there is a larger story unfolding, one in which every moment has meaning, even the ones that feel like delays. God's timing is about more than punctuality. It is about destiny, about the right people, the right circumstances, the right opportunities coming together. When we step back and see life from this broader perspective, we learn to release our grip on the clock and rest in the assurance that nothing is random or wasted. It's difficult to accept when plans are postponed, dreams are delayed, or prayers seem unanswered. We want life to fit our vision, but often life is teaching us to fit into a larger vision. That is the heart of trusting God's timing, realizing that His plan may be unfolding slowly, but it is always unfolding wisely. Sometimes we push against the delay, trying to force outcomes or take shortcuts. But rushing usually leads to broken things, broken promises, broken relationships, broken hearts. Learning to wait well is learning to trust that what we cannot see is being worked out by a loving hand. The delay is not denial. It is preparation. It is growth. It is grace. When God's timing feels late, it's easy to grow weary and discouraged. Doubts creep in, questions multiply. Why is this taking so long? Does God even hear me? Have I missed my chance? These questions are natural, but they do not have to define our journey. Instead, they can lead us deeper into trust. Trust is not the absence of questions, but the choice to hope anyway, to believe that what seems late to us is right on time in the grand story. The moments when you feel most stretched and waiting longest may be exactly when your faith is being strengthened the most. These are not empty pauses. They are the crucibles where patience, hope, and resilience are born. Our timing is often impatient and impulsive. driven by fear or desire. God's timing is patient and perfect, rooted in infinite wisdom and love. The difference between these two timings can feel like a chasm, but it is in that gap that faith is formed. When we learn to rest in that space, something miraculous happens. We grow less frantic and more faithful. We move from controlling to surrendering. The surrender is not defeat, it is freedom. Freedom from the pressure to have everything figured out. Freedom to trust a higher plan that we cannot yet see. This freedom allows us to live fully in the present moment, even as we hope for the future. History is full of stories where God's timing surprised everyone. People who waited years for a breakthrough, only to find that the wait was exactly what was needed. Consider those who have waited for healing, for reconciliation, for opportunities. Their stories are often not about instant miracles, but about gradual transformation. The wait shaped their character, deepened their faith, and prepared them for what was next. Waiting well is a spiritual discipline, a practice that cultivates patience, strengthens hope, and shapes character. It is in these quiet moments, between the not yet and the finally, that life's most profound lessons are learned. Sometimes we mistake God's timing for his absence. When we don't see immediate results, it's tempting to think that he has forgotten us. But absence and timing are not the same. Silence is not absence. It's often the space where God is working most powerfully, though unseen. Think of the seed buried in the dark soil. It is silent and invisible, but beneath the surface, life is growing. The same is true for us. In seasons of waiting, God is not idle. He is preparing, protecting, and perfecting what is to come. Our challenge is to trust in what cannot yet be seen, and to believe that God's timing is good, even when it is mysterious. There is a peace that comes from surrendering our timelines to God's plan. This peace doesn't erase the longing or the waiting, but changes our perspective. It allows us to see that timing is not just about what happens, but when it happens. It's about the journey, not just the destination. When we embrace God's timing, we discover that the waiting season is itself a gift, a time of growth, preparation, and revelation. We learn to listen, to rest, to hope, and to trust in the divine orchestration of our lives. And in that trust, we find a calm that transcends circumstances, a steady assurance that God's timing is always perfect. In our fast-paced world, waiting feels unnatural. We want immediate answers, instant gratification, and quick fixes. But the spiritual life often calls us to slow down, to trust a pace beyond our control. This waiting isn't passive, it's active. It means staying present in the moment, choosing faith over frustration, and finding purpose in the pause. Waiting well means learning to be still and know that life unfolds in seasons. Just like a tree takes time to bear fruit, our dreams and prayers need time to mature. This doesn't mean giving up or losing hope. It means embracing the journey, trusting that God is weaving together all the pieces in the right moment. Our timing can be impatient and short-sighted, but God's timing is patient and perfect. Sometimes God's timing clashes with our plans because what we want is not what we need. It's hard to accept that what feels like delay might actually be protection. Perhaps a door we long to open isn't yet ready because the path beyond holds lessons we are prepared for. When we trust God's timing, we accept that He sees the whole picture while we see only a fragment. It's like reading a book in the middle and wondering why the story doesn't make sense. But if we keep reading, the pieces come together beautifully. God's timing is a part of His greatest story for our lives. And when we surrender our timing, we allow that story to unfold with wisdom and grace. Patience is often misunderstood as passive waiting, but it is one of the most powerful expressions of faith. When we are patient, we are not merely enduring time, we are partnering with God's process. Patience means